Hello. It's sitting at like 100 degrees outside, so we're gonna do an inside video because I would die in my car. Um, Everything that anyone has ever done on the internet, I shouldn't say everything, but we'll say 99% of anything that's ever been done on the internet has been signaling that is used to collect more currency, to get your money up. You see, if you signal to a group of individuals and that group of individuals is receptive to that signaling, you get a social capital, and that social capital will then be turned into money, dollarinos. And this is the effect that the internet has of just, instead of creating actual value, you can instead make people feel good, and by agreeing with their opinions or giving them, I don't know, ideas that they follow and enjoy. It's just entertainment. But if you want to make an actual difference in the reality that we are all a part of, instead of doing this social signaling on the internet, even I do it. I need some capital. I gotta get my money up. I'm gonna say some things that you might agree with so that you can watch this video, so advertisers can give YouTube money, and then YouTube can give me money. That's the plan, right? But alongside that, I am also, I guess, what people would call an engineer. And being an engineer isn't actually that difficult. You don't need to go to school for it. You don't need any sort of degree or there is a certain aspect of education that you need to understand what engineering is, but everything that kind of encompasses engineering is one simple thing, and it is the art of problem solving. And back in my business arc where I was like, I'm gonna start a company so I can make mad money, turns out it's actually takes effort, and you actually need money to start a business. So instead, I did this YouTube thing. But from that, there's the idea of you solve a person's problem, and then that person will give you money for solving that problem. And that's how all businesses work. Even our great AI overlords are trying to shoehorn in a problem for you that you don't actually have so that they can solve it and get money from that. And this has been the way of, I guess, monopolization of people's agency, is that if you tell them they have a problem and then you put that problem in I don't know, the mainstream medium of culture, then you can sell the solution that isn't actually doing anything because it's not actually a problem. You'll find this everywhere, and many examples of it. Food, pharmaceuticals, and instead of making up problems that people don't actually have, you can maybe devote some time to solving actual problems. And from that comes another train of thought, but education in having a critical eye, perhaps knowing what a real problem is. Because whenever I hear the term engineer, and as you might as well, you imagine someone who's cooking it up in I don't know, the lab, and creating some sort of new concrete so that we can make concrete better or whatever. But that is one very particular engineering thing. There's a kajabillion other things that we could also improve beyond just the materials we have. That being, I guess I'll posit a new career, but community engineering, as the internet has stolen all of our ability to form natural communities. We need people who can specifically tailor a real life, actual community and have actual tangible benefits from being within that community more than just signaling, because you can signal communities all day long. Have you ever looked at Discord or Reddit or Twitter? It's all just community signaling. But whenever you have a real world community, you can get people who have actual day-to-day problems, and you can look at those and you can think of ways to solve them and help your actual community. This is difficult, and doing so comes with virtually no benefit, like financially, beyond the like potential transactions that might go on in your favor. And since it's not valued financially, there is obviously no incentive to do such a thing. But we can look at a world without... now this is difficult because we love money. See, even I'm trying to get my money up so that I can do more and have more capabilities. But money, I know I'm not trying to make any grandiose statements about money, so I'll try and keep it pretty clear. Right now, we need money to survive, to buy groceries and to like pay rent and, you know, have job. These are the necessities of survival this society has given us. But we, as a generation, since we're a little younger than our older folks, are going to be around a bit longer. And from that means we have the power to create whatever reality we want. And I'm not saying that we're going to create a reality without money, because it's so ingrained in our culture and does have actual use. But the way that we value money can change. And having money not be tied inherently to basic survival, and instead have money be used for more larger projects, or like grandiose things. It's something that if people want to pursue, they can, but it's not something they have to pursue. And if we were given that ability, perhaps some might call it a universal basic income, then instead of always trying to get your money up, you could instead try and get your community up. And if you then value community, because you don't have to survive by valuing money, then you could make a more substantial change in your society more so than trying to drive economic factors in your favor and making a survivable income. So, for now, we are not gonna be able to have any community engineers or whatever I said, because of this reality, this money reality we live in. But it doesn't mean you can't do it part-time. It'll be slower, and it'll probably take a little more out of you because everything else is trying to steal you away. But the value that comes from it is immeasurable. There's nothing quite like having a community. Most people, at least to my knowledge, in my generation, have not experienced what a true community is. They might say they have an online community, or they might have a small group of people that they might deem a community. But a real community is more than just the people you know. It's the people you don't know. That aspect of community is what makes a community real. If everyone's in the in-group and if everyone knows each other, then your community cannot function autonomously. Autonomously. Is that really how you say it? Autonomously. Yeah. And having a centralized factor in your community being an individual, well, that starts to get to a cult, and even having a what we would say a smaller community, or what people might just have like a group of friends as their community, will be a lot more difficult to exist in the long term, given that the only reason the community exists is because they stick together. And a community that doesn't need that cohesive force of liking each other and knowing each other can have a more diverse existence, and will feel more, how to say, vibrant. If you know everything that's going on in your community at all times, then it's not like, it doesn't have any mystery or like anything to discover. And you might have noticed that I'm using two different terms of community, and it's whatever I deem as community, and it's whatever I think you think is community. So keep this in mind. And now I have to get to the difficult part of where do you find that actual autonomous community? And it's a little bit like happiness, where if you try and gun for it directly, it doesn't work out. You have to work a little something here, work a little something here, and then something might start growing and flourishing into what I deem as a community. They're quite rare nowadays, and the greatest difficulty comes from the internet's ability to steal you away, and also the internet's ability to connect people, which might sound odd, but what I mean is that if you connect with everybody in your community, or I suppose what I really mean is that whenever you have your idea of a community as a group of people with a similar interest, that is a layer, like one or two layers different from the community that I'm talking about. Or is it? Because both communities can work. If you have a community of people who have a similar interest, but don't all know each other or are yeah, I lost it. If you have a community of people with a similar interest, they can still function as a community, given that they don't all know each other and they all contribute something to that community. And then you can also have a community of people who don't have the similar interests but are only there by locality, which both should be there by locality, given the real world requirements and how locality works with people. It's just needed. And with the group of people with similar interests, and what I meant by people who contribute value into that group, I don't mean monetary value. I mean that people within the group have their own dynamics with other people in the group, and they are not merely observers. And this is where online communities go, because a majority of those individuals are observers, and there is no pressure put on them to engage with the community. But real community requires engagement. And once you have a group of people with similar interests, right, you can say that they begin engaging on that similar interest. But beyond that, they also find things outside of what the interest group initially started as, and will develop deeper connections like real human beings who become closely connected and have a strong relationship will do. And that is like true humanity. That is what we really like. We really like when that happens. And that's the end goal of what I'm looking for in community. And to get back and all the way full circle, to engineer a community is to be active in that community and to help serve that community in order to see it thrive. Not everyone's going to engage in the community on like your level, but if you are able to put what you have available to you into that community, and I'm not talking monetarily, okay? It's not money. It's not a money issue. It's a time. It's a being there, both like mentally and like engagement wise. You are there. You are really there. And you are in it. And you understand it. That's dope. It's what we want. It's what I want. So go do that. Yo. Anyways, toodles.